All right, so let's dive into something pretty fascinating, huh? The philosophy of love. You're listening to this deep dive because you're interested in how philosophers through history have viewed this powerful emotion, you know?
Yes.
And we've got just the source for that, an excerpt from In Praise of Love. It's a conversation between philosopher Alain Badiou and Nicholas Strong.
Badiou offers a really insightful look at how modern society views love.
I was taking a look at the material, and it looks like he's got some pretty strong opinions on things like dating apps.
Hmm.
You know, this whole idea of risk-free love. I'm curious to hear more about that.
Well, he begins by talking about this securitized approach to love, and he uses this Mean Ash ad campaign as a very striking example.
Meanatic, the dating site. What kind of ads are we talking about?
Just picture Paris covered in these billboards,
Just
right?
okay.
With slogans like "Find love without chance" or "You can be in love without falling in love,"
Yeah.
and even "You can be in love without suffering."
It's like selling love as this completely like predictable and controlled experience. Where's the passion? Where's the excitement?
Exactly. Badiou argues that this sanitized risk-free approach, it's a threat to the very essence of love. He compares it to the military concept of zero casualty warfare, this kind of sanitized idea that ignores the inherent unpredictability of both war and, matters of the heart.
So like trying to eliminate the human element of it all.
Right.
The things that make it so powerful and compelling, right?
Yes, and what's so interesting is that this securitized view actually aligns with both liberal and libertarian thinking. This idea that love is, an unnecessary risk, something that you can kind of optimize and control to minimize any potential for pain.
And it's interesting how these like seemingly different viewpoints can actually converge on this one subject of love, you know. So where do philosophers throughout history fit into all of this? Have they always been kind of wary of love's chaotic nature?
Not at all. Philosophers have had very diverse, even contradictory views on love.
Okay.
Some, like Schopenhauer, were very anti-love.
Oh,
They saw it as nothing more than a biological trick. Others, like Kierkegaard, saw love as a crucial step in our, spiritual development.
so we've got everything from cynical pessimism to almost like religious reverence.
Indeed,
It's quite a range.
it is.
Yeah.
But Badiou actually finds common ground with Plato, who believed that love contained a universal element. That even appreciating, physical beauty helps us to understand the concept of beauty itself.
I like that. So love is a pathway to a higher truth.
And Badiou agrees. He believes that love lets us experience the world through the lens of difference instead of just our own individual perspectives.
Okay. Can you break that down a little further for me?
Sure. So think about it this way, right?
Yeah.
When we're in love, we're confronted with another person's worldview, their way of being.
Yeah.
And that's inherently different from our own.
Right.
It forces us to challenge our assumptions and expand our understanding of the world.
So it's not just about like the warm and fuzzy feelings, but like it actually changes how we see reality.
Precisely. And Badiou draws on the work of the psychoanalyst Jacques Lacan to kind of explore this further. Lacan famously said that there is no sexual relationship.
No sexual relationship.
Mhm.
That sounds a bit radical, even for a psychoanalyst.
It is a bold statement. But what Lacan meant was that true connection in the realm of sexuality is elusive because on a fundamental level, it's all about the self.
Right.
It's about our own individual drives and desires.
So where does love come in?
Lacan saw love as stepping into that void, into that lack of a true sexual relationship.
Okay.
He believed that love is what allows us to reach beyond ourselves and connect with the essence of another person.
I mean, that's a pretty powerful concept, right?
Yeah.
Love being the bridge between these two individuals who are otherwise driven by their own needs and desires.
It is. And it challenges this idea that, that love is simply there to mask this inherent emptiness of sexuality.
You mean like we create this romantic illusion to cover up the fact that we're all just, ultimately alone?
Yes, that's one way to look at it. And Simone de Beauvoir touched on this idea in The Second Sex, with her somewhat cynical portrayal of post-coital disillusionment.
Right.
But Badiou sees love as something much, much more substantial. He calls it a truth procedure.
Okay, truth procedure. Now, that sounds a little like philosopher speak to me.
Sure.
Can you help me understand that a bit?
Of course. What Badiou means is that love is a a process that unfolds over time.
Okay.
And it's built on this experience of two-ness.
Two-ness, meaning two people in a relationship.
Exactly. He rejects the romantic idea of, two people kind of merging into one.
Yeah.
For Jew, the initial encounter, that's just the starting point. The real work of love, it happens over time as two individuals kind of navigate their differences and build this shared world together.
So not the whirlwind romances ending in a dramatic declaration of love and then happily ever after.
Not according to Badiou. He believes that the real story of love, it begins after that initial spark, after that first I love you.
Right.
It's about this commitment to experiencing the world through the lens of two-ness.
So is that where the idea of a truth procedure comes in?
Yeah.
Because through through this experience of two-ness, we discovered truths about ourselves, each other, about the world around us.
Exactly. And that ties into why love stories resonate with people across cultures and throughout history. They offer these glimpses into this fundamental truth of two-ness, this journey of two individuals forging a shared existence.
Yeah, it's like we're all drawn to those stories because they reflect something, essential about the human experience, is desire for connection despite our differences. But what does Badiou have to say about the declaration of love? It sounds like he places a lot of emphasis on that.
He does. For him, saying "I love you," it's a moment of transformation, a shift from chance to a shared destiny. It's about consciously choosing to kind of embark on this journey of two-ness.
So it's more than just a mushy sentiment, right?
Yeah.
It's a commitment to something much, much bigger.
Exactly. And this commitment is what Badiou calls fidelity.
But he's not just simply talking about, sexual exclusivity, is he?
No, his concept of fidelity is much broader. It's about staying true to that initial declaration of love and committing to this ongoing victory over chance.
Okay.
It's about facing life's challenges together while honoring the essence of that original commitment.
So it's about weathering the storms together and staying true to what brought you together in the first place.
Precisely. And a beautiful example of this can be found in Andre Gorze's Letter to D. It's a love letter that he wrote to his wife, Doreen, later in life.
I'd love to hear more about that.
He opens with these incredibly powerful lines. "You're going to be 80 years old. You've shrunk 6 centimeters. You only weigh 45 kilos. And you're still beautiful, graceful, desirable. We've been together 59 years, and I love you more than ever. Once again, I carry in the hollow of my chest a devouring void that only the warmth of your body against mine can still."
Oh, wow. That's a truly beautiful expression of love's endurance, transcending time and physical changes.
And that's exactly what Badiou means by fidelity.
Yeah.
Love it's a process of continuously reaffirming the initial bond despite, life's inevitable challenges.
Yeah.
And speaking of challenges, I imagine the arrival of a child can really shake up this scene of two, right?
Absolutely. And Badiou acknowledges that, right?
Thanks.
A child, it disrupts that initial dynamic, and it forces a couple to redefine their commitment. Suddenly, it's not just about two-ness anymore.
He sees the arrival of a child as a point where the initial commitment needs to be, reaffirmed, and the truth of love needs to be, in a sense, redeclared.
Okay, so it's like a whole new chapter in this truth procedure of love. It requires an even deeper level of understanding and adaptation.
Mm-hmm.
It also makes me think about how Badiou connects love and politics.
Mm.
I mean, those two don't usually go hand in hand, at least not for me.
Right.
How does he make that connection?
Well, he sees both love and politics as these truth procedures, but in different spheres.
Okay.
Love, as we've been discussing, is about constructing a truth about two-ness and the potential of difference. Politics, on the other hand, is about this collective capability for equality.
Okay. So love is about embracing differences.
Yeah.
While politics is about striving for equality.
Yes, exactly. And he even goes so far as to compare the family to the state of love.
What does he mean by that?
He's drawing a parallel between the complexities of family dynamics and the way that that political movements interact with state power.
Okay.
Both involve navigating power dynamics, negotiating individual needs with the demands of the collective.
I see. So are there any key differences between love and politics that he highlights?
He points to the concept of the enemy, which you might guess is absent in love.
Right.
Politics inherently involves confrontation with opposing ideologies, while love is about embracing differences, not battling against
But
them.
surely, I mean, surely there are conflicts within love as well, right?
Of course.
Disagreements, arguments, these sorts of things.
But Badiou sees these internal conflicts as arising from the struggle between individual identity and the demands of two-ness, not from an external enemy.
It sounds like the drama of love comes from learning to balance individual needs with the needs of the relationship, right? Would you say that's accurate?
Yes, absolutely. And this is where Badiou is adamant about keeping love and politics separate.
Yeah.
He sees no value in the idea of the politics of love. He even considers it dangerous to mix the two.
Less so.
Well, he warns against, totalitarian regimes that demand love for the party or the leader as a replacement for genuine political engagement.
So keep those spheres separate. Love is love, politics is politics, got it. But what about the connection between love and art? That seems like a more natural pairing.
It does, and Badiou spends a lot of time exploring that connection. He starts with the surrealists who really understood love's power to disrupt the ordinary and challenge societal norms.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Their art often explored the more irrational, dreamlike aspects of love.
Exactly. And Badiou points out André Breton's famous statement, "I would like to reduce art to its simplest expression, which is love."
So for Breton, love was the purest form of artistic inspiration.
You could say that. He believed that love could transform our perceptions, reveal hidden truths, and inspire new forms of artistic expression.
Right.
And Badiou seems to agree, at least to a certain extent.
So they both saw this connection between love's ability to shake things up and art's power to make us see the world in a new way. But isn't most art focused on the initial stages of love, the falling in love part?
A lot of it is, yes.
Yeah.
But Badiou also highlights the importance of love's endurance over time.
Okay.
And he finds a surprising example of this in the work of Samuel Beckett.
Wait, Beckett,
Yes.
the playwright, known for his bleak existential works.
Hmm?
What does he have to say about love?
More than you might think.
Okay.
Badiou highlights works like Happy Days, which depicts enduring love amidst some pretty, challenging circumstances.
So even in Beckett's world, love offers this glimmer of hope and meaning.
It does.
Yeah. I'm really starting to see how all of these different elements of Badiou's philosophy are all connected.
They are, and all of this brings us back to Badiou's own deep love for theater.
Right. Right. Because theater is such a powerful way to kind of explore the complexities of the human experience, including love.
Yes, and he sees theater as embodying the intersection of thought and body, just as love, it entwines both the physical and the emotional.
So like a living metaphor for the complexities of love.
Exactly. He also sees a connection between the collaborative nature of theater and what he calls the communist aspect of love.
Hold on, communist aspect of love. That's not a term I'd usually associate with romance.
I know it sounds unusual, but what he means is that both prioritize shared experience over individual satisfaction.
So it's about putting the needs of the collective, whether it's a theater company or a couple, above one's own personal desires.
That's right. And he contrasts the temporary nature of, theater communities, which often disband after a production,
Right.
with the enduring nature of successful love relationships.
Which speaks to that idea of fidelity we talked about earlier. Right?
Yes.
That commitment to building this lasting world together.
Exactly.
This has been a fascinating exploration so far. We've covered so much ground, from dating apps to communist love, from Plato to Beckett. What else does Badiou have to say about this complex and fascinating emotion?
There's still plenty to uncover. Join us next time as we kind of delve into the historical and political dimensions of love and explore how it's been portrayed in art and literature throughout the ages.
Welcome back. As we're exploring all these different philosophical perspectives on love, it makes me wonder how historical forces has shaped the way we experience love today.
That's a great point, and Badiou actually dives into that, particularly the influence of Christianity.
It's interesting because Christianity is so often associated with love, with messages like "Love thy neighbor." How does Badiou see that connection?
Well, he argues that Christianity, in a way, harnessed the power of love for its own purposes, right?
Sure.
It took this, intense and personal emotion and kind of directed it toward a transcendent ideal.
So instead of love being an end in itself, it becomes a path to something else, like salvation, divine grace, that sort of thing.
Exactly. And Badiou recognizes that this was a very effective strategy. It allowed the church to gain influence and even encourage people to accept suffering in the name of a higher purpose.
Right. If you believe enduring hardship in this life will lead to a greater reward in the next, you're more likely to submit to authority. It's a powerful form of social control.
Precisely. But Badiou argues that this transcendent view of love, it comes at a cost.
Would you say that it diverts attention from the actual lived experience of love here on Earth?
That's exactly it. He believes that the universal element of love, the truth it reveals, it's found in the relationship itself, not in some external divine being.
So we don't need a God to give meaning to our love, right? The meaning is found in that shared experience, the two-ness, that ongoing process of discovery we've been talking about.
Yes, and he contrasts this, active creative view of love with the more passive devotional love that's often, promoted by Christianity.
Like the idea of surrendering to a higher power,
Right.
offering up your love as a form of worship.
Right. Badiou is very critical of this type of submissive love. He argues that real love is about, challenging norms, pushing boundaries, creating your own path, not bowing down to some, external authority.
It's about forging your own meaning, your own truth, rather than just accepting a predefined one. And it makes me think about how love has been used or perhaps misused in certain political ideologies.
You're right to make that connection. Badiou sees how totalitarian regimes often demand this, unwavering loyalty and devotion to the state or the leader. And he considers this a distortion of love, a manipulation of its power for political gain.
Because it replaces critical thinking and meaningful political discourse with blind obedience and faith.
Exactly. He warns against the dangers of blurring the lines between love and political ideology.
So no love for the party or love for the dear leader if we want to keep those spheres separate.
Precisely. He wants to preserve the integrity of love as a realm of, freedom, exploration, and challenging the status quo.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be used to enforce conformity or silence dissent.
But couldn't love and politics intersect in positive ways too? I'm thinking like social movements where shared struggles for justice, they create, strong bonds and even spark romantic relationships.
Absolutely. Badiou is fascinated by, how love thrives in times of upheaval when traditional structures are being challenged and people are fighting for a better future. He sees love as a source of strength and inspiration in those moments.
Like a reminder of what's worth fighting for.
He explores this theme in his own creative works, like his play *The Red Scarf* and his novel *Calm Block Isobase*, where love stories play out against this backdrop of political turmoil.
It sounds like he's showing us how love operates in the real world,
Yeah.
within the complexities of human relationships and the messiness of history.
Yes, and he draws this interesting parallel between the intensity of love and the passion of political commitment.
It's like both tap into something, deep within us, this desire for something more than ourselves.
He describes it as the secret resonance between these two, powerful forces.
So both love and political engagement have the power to kind of transform us, to change our perspectives and priorities. It's really fascinating to consider all these different facets of love.
It is. And speaking of facets, let's shift gears and talk about the connection between love and art. It seems almost impossible to separate the two, right?
Right. Love has been a central theme in art for as long as we can remember.
And Badiou dedicates a significant part of the book to this connection, starting with the surrealist.
Yeah.
He argues that they understood love's ability to to disrupt the ordinary and unleash creativity.
That makes sense. Their art often explored the irrational and dreamlike aspects of love, the way it challenges conventional thinking.
Exactly. And Badiou highlights André Breton's statement, "I would like to reduce art to its simplest expression, which is love."
So for Breton, love was the ultimate form of artistic inspiration, the purest distillation of human experience.
You could say that he believed that love could reveal hidden truths and inspire new forms of artistic expression. And Badiou seems to agree, at least to some extent.
So they both see how love can shake up our world and how art can do the same, forcing us to look at things differently.
Right. Now, a lot of art focuses on that initial spark of love, the falling in love phase. But Badiou also emphasizes love's ability to endure over time, and he finds a surprising example of this in the works of Samuel Beckett.
Wait, Beckett, the playwright known for his dark, existential works. You're saying he actually explored the depths of love's resilience.
He did. Badiou points to plays like Happy Days, where a woman buried up to her waist in sand still, clings to the memory of love and enough, which depicts an aging couple's enduring connection despite all the hardship they've faced.
So even in Beckett's bleak world, love offers this glimmer of hope and meaning. But this brings us back to Badiou's own deep love for theater. Why is that so significant?
He sees theater as this, microcosm of love's complexities. It brings together thought and body, just like love. It intertwines the physical and the emotional.
I see. So actors
Yeah.
use their physical presence to convey emotions, to tell stories, to create entire worlds on stage.
Exactly. And he draws a parallel between the collaborative nature of theater and what he calls the communist aspect of love. Remember how we talked about that earlier?
Yes, the idea that both prioritize the collective experience over individual satisfaction.
Right.
It's about working together towards a common goal,
Yeah.
whether it's putting on a play or building a lasting relationship.
Exactly, and he contrasts the temporary nature of a theater company, which often disbands after a production, with the enduring nature of a successful love relationship.
That speaks to the commitment and dedication needed to make love last, to build something that can weather the storms.
He does.
This has been an incredibly rich and insightful conversation. We've explored so much, from the historical and political dimensions of love to its portrayal in art and literature. But I'm curious, what are Badiou's own personal reflections on love? He's not just a philosopher theorizing about love from a distance, is he?
That's a great question, and it leads us to the heart of his philosophy. Join us next time as we kind of delve into Badiou's personal experiences with love, his thoughts on fidelity, and his vision for a world where love can truly flourish.
We're back for the final part of our deep dive into the philosophy of love. We've been grappling with some really big ideas, and it's made me think about my own experiences with love and relationships. But I'm really curious to hear more about Badiou's personal reflections on love. He's not just a philosopher theorizing about love from a distance, is he?
Not at all. He's very open about his own experiences.
Right.
And those insights, I think, really bring his ideas to life.
It just makes it feel much more relatable,
Yeah.
Hearing about the person behind the philosophy. So what stands out to you about his personal views on love?
Well, one thing that struck me was his unwavering belief in fidelity. And as we've discussed, he sees it as much more than just sexual exclusivity.
Right. It's about that deep commitment to navigating the complexities of two-ness over the long haul.
Exactly. And he doesn't just talk about it.
Mhm.
He said that he's never abandoned a love in his adult life.
Wow, that's a pretty powerful statement, especially in today's world where relationships can often feel so fleeting. Why do you think he places such importance on fidelity?
Well, he sees that commitment as essential to love's, transformative power. It's through those, long, sometimes difficult journeys with another person that we really discover, who we are.
It's about growth, both as individuals and as a couple. But I mean, it can't always be easy, right?
Oh.
Does he acknowledge the challenges that come with that level of commitment?
He does. He's honest about the conflicts, the doubts, the inevitable bumps in the road, but he sees those challenges as opportunities to deepen the connection and reaffirm that initial commitment.
So it's not about avoiding the hard times, but about facing them together and coming out stronger on the other side.
Exactly. And he believes that willingness to persevere, that's what separates true love from just a passing infatuation. True love, it requires effort, compromise, putting the needs of the relationship above your own ego.
It's about choosing love even when it's hard. It seems like he's kind of going against the grain, in a culture that often prioritizes instant gratification and disposability.
He is, and he connects this back to his broader ideas about truth and commitment. For Badiou, true love isn't just a feeling; it's an active choice, a way of being in the world.
It's a journey of discovery that requires courage and a willingness to embrace the unknown.
Yes, and he leaves us with a really powerful image from the book to illustrate that. He writes, "In the lymph, you become your naked joy."
Wow, what a beautiful and evocative phrase. What do you think he's trying to convey with those words?
I think he's getting at the transformative power of love, how it strips away our defenses and reveals our most authentic selves. True happiness isn't something we find in isolation. It's something we discover in the presence of another in that shared space of love.
That's a beautiful thought to end on. We've covered so much ground in this deep dive exploring the philosophy of love from all angles.
We have, from the influence of history and politics to the role of art and personal experience. It's been quite a journey.
I feel like I have a much richer understanding of this complex emotion, and I hope you do too. But as with any deep dive, the conversation doesn't end here.
Exactly. We encourage you to, continue exploring these ideas, delve deeper into the source material and reflect on what love means to you.
Because ultimately, the truth of love is something we each have to discover for ourselves through our own experiences and reflections.
And remember Badiou's words, love what you will never see twice.
Mhm.
Every love is unique, precious, and worth cherishing.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the philosophy of love.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time for another fascinating exploration.